on WhatsApp for the last 4 days. We were just brainstorming in terms of what is this education session going to be. The first thing that we came up with was writing a winning speech. But is this about writing a winning speech? No. Then the thought was, is it about writing and delivering? I felt, looking at my fellow members in the club, that's not the pain that many of you face. Because once you write it, somewhere or other, you deliver it. Right? So, then it was the question about, is it about using similes, alliterations, triads and all that? On how attractive that your language is going to be, how well you present it? I said, even if that is a demand from someone in front of me, I am the wrong person to do that education session because I am not good at it. Fellow Toastmasters and guests. Thus, this particular education session has a different objective altogether. And I'll come to that when I am going through this education session. So before I begin, I have a few questions to ask. I may pick up names because some of you are very familiar, some of your paths are very familiar. Some of the work that you do, some of the speeches that you do are very familiar to you. But I want to ask, Toastmaster Varun, what's your pathway?
Currently presentation master.
Presentation master. I want to ask Toastmaster Prasita, why did you join Toastmasters?
I joined Toastmasters to, first thing, 2 reasons mainly. First is to have a good communication, to develop a communication skill, and second is to have a good networking.
Presentation mastery, good communication skills, networking. Those are the points that I thought so far. Now, my question is to all of you. What is that method that you follow if you have to deliver a club level speech or a project speech? Think about it. There is a why to why I'm asking this question. Because primarily, I don't think a competition speech and a club speech need to be seen any differently. Because the structure is the same. 7 minutes you get. You have a set of audience. What you're supposed to achieve doesn't really matter other than a certificate that you get. Right? So, I would go back to, with this why in mind, I would go back to this question. What is the method that you follow? If next Saturday you have to make a speech from your pathway presentation mastery and assume it's level 2, what is it that you want to do? I just picked them up, but anyone can answer. How are you going to go about it?
Objectives.
Okay. So you will go and read the objectives. Okay.
I try to pick a topic that resonates with me as well as the audience.
I try to pick a topic that resonates with me as well as the audience. Okay? Is that how all of you do? This is a group, so we want to use the power of the group so that we explore this together. This is one way. I am not something more or less the same.
I pick a topic and make it match the objectives.
Come again. I pick a topic.
Then make sure that it's matching the objectives.
I pick a topic and I reverse engineer it to match it with the objectives.
Typical Indian, democratic.
Absolutely. Typical Indian democratic where you actually have a cow, but you're supposed to talk about a coconut tree. Then you put the rope and then marry the cow and the coconut tree. Yeah. Any other methods?
I don't focus too much on the topic. I think of some incidents or some examples that go along with the objectives. When you read the objective slides, then there will be some questions to ponder about it.
Okay. So I've heard it. There is a mix. There is a set of people who pick a topic, try to put it to the objective that I have in hand. There are a set of people would read the objective and then go with the lens and find out, okay, is there a speech that matches the objective? In both these scenarios, you know what you've been misguided with? You're trying to fit into a cloth which is already stitched. Because there's an objective that is worrying you. And you read the objective in both cases. You pick a topic for you and the audience, then you try to match to the objective. My tip for you today is when you step out, when you try to make your next presentation or next speech topic, worry about the objectives only after you have a basket of topics to talk about. And first, arrive at that basket of topics. Because Toastmaster International never mandates you an order to go through your pathway. You can very well do level 4 while you are at level 4. It is not progressive. Just that you will not get the completion certificate, but you are ticking off a speech from the list of things that you have to do. At the end of the day, when you are completing a pathway, you are doing 15 or 17 speeches. In what order you do doesn't matter. The best way or best example is to point at yourself. I am stuck at level 4 because I have a tall objective in front of me in doing a high performance leadership project. Now, when I look back at my office, I am doing a leadership role. Now, where is the depth of doing this presentation in front of me? The problem that I am actually facing is I am trying to marry this to the audience that is sitting in front of me. Because at my office, the work I am doing, there is a little bit of confidentiality. There is a brand of the organization. I still have not cracked the problem on how to fit that to a Toastmaster audience. And result is I am stuck at level 4. My request again for you is, each time, the moment you feel that, oh, there is an objective that I have to fulfill, so I need to find a speech for it, it will backbite you. Instead, if you get this basket of topics that you can talk about, then it makes life a lot easier. It is not actually you're marrying the speech to the objective, you're actually customizing a set of speeches or set of topics in front of you to fit to one of the objectives that you may have to take up in future as well. So, to start your journey, if you are at the beginning of your path, if you are at the middle of the pathway, it will be a good thought to read through all the objectives in front of you. Just the objectives. Don't even get worried about whether it is a 5-minute speech or a 4-minute speech or a 7-minute speech. Just read through all the objectives. Today, Archana, you are finishing off an elective in level 3. Do you know? It just means you have to moderate a tabletop session. And you've done it so well today because each speaker, while you are going back to your seat, back to their seats, you are taking 1 or 2 minutes or even 30 seconds to reflect. I really like to take on the topic. I just wanted to know which is the favorite sports. And this particular project is called active listening. And you were just doing nothing but that. How do I know? I had read all the objectives and I know how to traverse through the pathway. Now, that's where I said today's topic is not going to be in terms of crafting a speech, but how the speech even takes birth. And the speech doesn't take birth looking at your pathway objective. The speech takes birth looking at what you are capable of speaking. Now, how much ever times I tell this, it is difficult to register to people. Definitely, in a few minutes, I'll tell you through an example. Now, let's look at how do you give birth to that particular speech, right? You have an idea in front of you. And how do you structure in the pathway mode or the competition mode? As I said earlier, it's all the same mode. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Now here, I will give you 3 terms. I will call it the hook. Okay? The next, I will call the takeaway. And 3, I will call the example of a hook. I made a statement when I started this session by saying that I looked for different topics to make this, but actually that is not what I'm going to talk about. Yes or no? You all are thinking, what is it? Have I hooked you already? A few seconds ago, I said, how much I tell you, it's not going to make a difference. So I will do a demo. I know you're interested in listening to it. And the next 5 minutes, you'll definitely listen to it. Because whatever I tell, I want this to be over so that I can see the demo. Hook can be anywhere through your speech, but any of your speeches need to have a strong hook that can hold the audience for the entire 7 minutes. If I take my own example, the very name Karina itself was a hook. Because everybody in the audience wanted to know what is he going to talk about. I also received criticism. One of the senior members whom I was looking for mentoring support from, he told that your audience is going to get distracted because Karina is a very popular name. Everyone will think of Karina. But I chose not to take that because I still felt I had a better hook in that name. That is one example of a hook. And hook can take different forms as we are talking about. And when I say different forms, in my case, clearly it was humor. And if you look at many of the speeches that Toastmaster Manish is doing, he also, his favorite, his forte is humor. So, hook can be introduced in various formats. It can be humor, it can be emotion. If I take another example, you had listened to the division speeches, Toastmaster Anu from Tiruvalla, her hook was largely driven on emotions. It was a real life story that she had told. If I take your speech at the club level, we don't talk anymore. Why do I remember that topic even now? It's because you had a strong hook. Right? So that is about the hook. I will definitely take questions, but let me complete this. The next point that I want to talk about is your takeaway. And one mistake that even many of the established speakers do is they say that the takeaway for today's session is this. Takeaway cannot be advertised. Takeaway had to be instilled in the audience as you go through your speech. If I were to ask you what was my takeaway from the speech that I had delivered, there was one phrase, and that was, I hope everyone remembers it, let go. And I was very happy that many of the speakers who came after, they were MCs or they were contest masters, they used these words at many of the sessions, be it at the division level or at the district level. So it gives me a lot of confidence saying that I was able to register that takeaway. Now there is also another magic which you have to do as you are going through the speech. And this, I am thankful to a lot of my mentors who had given me this. One of the problems that I had when I was presenting any speech for that matter is, I believe that your takeaway should be a suspense. I believe that my takeaway should be a suspense. But the seniors in the group, the mentors that I've met, they have told me that your takeaway should resonate. It should hit them more than 2 times at least so that they remember it. You have to introduce it somewhere fairly towards the beginning of it without the audience even knowing that it was a takeaway. So again, your takeaway should not be told on face. People should imbibe your takeaway as you are going through the speech. And the third, I believe an equally important point is your speech has to differ looking at the people sitting in front of you. And that is how club to area to division, division to district, I would have gone tweaking the script every now and then because there are certain nuances your audience will not understand. I go back to one of my examples which I had delivered when I was doing it. Probably the first speech that I did for Rwanda Toastmasters for my project was on research and presentation. And I picked up the topic on artificial intelligence and machine learning. Look at my audacity. Because the objective said it should be an area which you are hitherto familiar with, which you are not hitherto familiar with. So I wanted to learn about artificial intelligence and machine learning. I wanted to talk about it for my own selfish reasons. But I realized that the audience sitting in front of me may not be well versed with technology. I can't go and blabber about artificial intelligence and machine learning. So then I decided that my script started from a very simple example. How many of you search for products on Amazon? Everybody, right? And I asked them, have you ever felt that Amazon is guessing what you want? The moment you search for something, they push you similar products. That was the hook, which I simply conveyed to which I simply conveyed to the audience the complexity of a topic like artificial intelligence and machine learning, so that everybody was able to understand it. So the same speech you may deliver it in many occasions. You need to know who is sitting in front of you, what level of people are going to listen to it, and accordingly make those minor nuances, tweaks in the script so that it becomes palatable to a set of people who are sitting in front of you. Those, I think, would take you to making a speech that is very engaging to the audience, and that will always follow the structure. Be it your level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, be it a table topic, this can take you forward many steps. I still have not answered a question which we started off. The question is, where do we get this topic from, right? I've told about how the birth happens, but from where? What is that seed that will give you an idea? And that seed has to vary from person to person. For some people, it would be books. For some people, it would be a workplace. But for some others, it could just be the things that happen around you, the people that you interact with on a daily basis. I will come to that particular story. Yesterday, I landed here at 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, and I came to Choyappally railway station. You know what the scenario that happens at Choyappally railway station in the morning? An entire train comes. Right? There are around 12 bogies for the train. Sleeper class, if you count, each class is got some 72 seats or 72 berths. 12 into 72, definitely a number that is close to 800. And when you come out, the Kerala State Road Transport Corporation is so generous that they have put 2 buses to transfer this entire set of train travelers to the city. What did I do just now? What did I do just now? Sarcasm, humor, yes, everything is there. But I'm sure being in Trivandrum, you all, I think 90% of you being city dwellers of Trivandrum, you would have had at least one instance where you landed at Choyappally. You would have seen this. I have the audience in my mind. I've got a very relatable start for this. Okay? Now, I see that there are 2 buses. One bus goes all the way from Choyappally through Peta to Kerakekota and Tambakam. I was intrigued in the order why first Kerakekota and then Tambakam. I left it there because that was not my population. But the other bus goes from Choyappally to Kumarapuram to Medical College to Ullu to Keshavadaspuram to Pattam and then to Kerakekota and Tambakam. I got into the second bus. Not because I was stupid that I had to travel a whole way, but because everyone else was intelligent and the first bus was already full. Now, this is a point where you can add any other elements of humor, because you are all in a bus after train journey. 90% of the people in the bus has not brushed their teeth. The conductor is furious in the morning. Everybody is tossing 100 rupees, 500 rupees notes in front of him, and the maximum cost for this journey is 25 rupees. So there's so much of happening in the bus. Now, I got into the bus, and then this is your instance. Now you're in the driver's seat. You can take this entire speech to route A or route B. What if I tell you that the bus that I boarded had a specific purpose to take a long route. It stopped at medical college, and the conductor said, all those who had to visit RCC can get down here. You were on a humorous note so far. This is that junction where you can completely take your audience to the left side and then have a different story developed on RCC and what happens there. And I was shocked, literally shocked. More than 25% of the bus got emptied there. From there, on boarded a lady who was completely dressed up very well, pleated and green sarees, hair combed. She had a little bit of flowers on her hair with a bindi and a chandanam and all that. And I started thinking, what could be this lady doing? If she had to be there at 5 in the morning, at what time her life would have started that day? At what time she would have started packing or doing her lunch at breakfast for people at their home? Again, this is another character in front of you. It gives you enough and more of opportunity to take that bus journey to a completely different. Or you will still continue to picture the fight between the conductor and the people in front of you, the kind of conversations that happen in the bus, and all that. I didn't have the story to tell to you maybe 48 hours before, but I'm standing there right now. I've used this story, and I'll definitely use this story for one of my future speeches. Now, I don't know what objective to which I'm delivering to. I'll have to figure out where that fitment happens. So, point again, if you are struggling for that particular birth of a speech, it is always good that you look around. Maybe it's in a book that you read, maybe it's with a person that you interact. And more than any of these, there is one person who is very resourceful, who can give you a lot of ideas for developing any number of speeches. That is yourself. Introspect into you. Look at the kind of mistakes that you've done in the past. Look at the kind of achievements that you've had in the past. Every achievement that you've had, every mistake that you've done might have a story behind it. And that story very well forms a topic for the next speech. I don't want to conclude my session here, but I have to give you a little bit of a demo in terms of how to make a speech through the book, The Takeaway of Audience in Front. So for that, what I'll do is, I'll now turn into a speaker. And then I'll say, the next speaker is Dileep Choyappally. Dileep Choyappally, chicken curry. Chicken curry, Dileep Choyappally. Friends, how many of you have had your parents who ask you this question the moment you show your answer sheets to them? 95 on 100. Hey, how did you lose in 5 months? Have you had parents like that? If not for you, I'm sure there would have been at least one in your class who complained about such parents. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, today I'm going to tell you a very similar incident that happened in our life. When I say our life, this is pertaining to one of the previous organizations, IBS, that I work with in technical. We had a fabulous team. Very much like how proud Jibu was talking about the H&R Block team of Toastmasters. We had a fabulous team who runs events after events for the organization. We ensured that this team worked day in and day out to keep everybody in that organization entertained. And this team was called the Reflections Team. Happily, I was head of it. One fine evening, we had concluded a 1.5 month long annual day for the organization. When I say 1.5 month long celebration, we had divided the entire organization into teams, we had a competition, we had gamified almost everything there was multiple events that happened, offline, online games. Finally, it culminated with a gala stage performance and the dinner. The stage performance had external celebrities, the likes of Choyappally. We had a lot of singers, lot of dancers from our own organization doing this. And the event just got over. We were in an adrenaline rush because appreciations were pumping in from all the directions. They said, wow, Reflections team, another great event. Some others come and tell us, you guys, no chance of complaining. We were basking in this limelight and tired but extremely happy. We were finishing our dinner at 12 in the midnight with whatever was left, because we are a selfless crowd who have run that event. We had left everybody happy, and that made our tummies full. Now, as we were having dinner, there was one guy who was not part of the Reflections team, who was another employee there. So we were all eating. This guy comes and we are expecting there's another appreciation on the way. We were ready to wear our stars on the crown, right? And he came in front of us and looked at all of us and said, "That chicken curry, very bad." For a moment, there was absolute silence. And somebody who was in charge of food, she said, "Okay." We let the caterers know. And then this guy vanished, disappeared. In our lives, there would be parents who would be bothered about that 5 marks that we lost. There would be friends who were ready to pick that one small thing which we didn't do right. Soon after this guy left, the team was furious. What do we tell them? What is happening? And then some people asked, "The curry that I had was good." And I told them one sentence: don't bother. Because that is not what evaluates us. It is the kind of happiness that we get in conducting this event. It's the kind of happiness that comes into us as appreciations that matter. And the quality of one chicken curry that didn't happen well to one tongue shouldn't bother us. Next time, any of you get such a feedback, tell that to yourself that this is not what you should be valued. And then it became so much of a commonality in all of us that the moment someone does a false criticism, we would look at each other and say, "Chicken curry." Today, when you go home and you feel that, oh, Dileep, he did a fabulous presentation, but look at what shirt and pants he was wearing. Look at what chappal he was wearing for this meeting. Let me tell you, I don't bother, because that comment is a chicken curry. Over to you, Toastmaster.